Hello, Tom Lebecki here with a very special edition of it's going to be a new theory podcast in coordination with Mobsters Inc. We're going to go live, and then it's going to probably reside on the New Theory channel. So if you're watching this on Mobsters Inc., you decide to jump off and watch the rest. It'll reside on New Theory. So there's a little different, but an important episode that we're going to do. I'm here with Myron Sugarman, Doug, the last gangster, who we're going to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Myron Sugarman, welcome back to the New Theory podcast. How are you doing today?
Okay, thank you, Tommy. This is number 3, right?
Yeah, number 3.
It's number 3.
And you did your first live ever with me.
Yeah.
Not with Patrick McDavid, not with Vlad, right here on the New Theory podcast. So we're going to jump right in.
Let me give a little history before
Please.
a little history before we jump in. First of all, my reputation, my story is I'm the last Jewish gangster from Meyer to Myron. In reality, there are other gangsters. There'll be gangsters after me, but I am the last of a generation of gangsters to go back to the 20th century, and that's the difference. That I'm the tail end, I'm the caboose that tell that story, because that particular mob involvement, these were Jews that were not only just supposedly gangsters, hoodlums, mobsters, or whatever the case may be, but the upper echelon were extremely patriotic, both American and Jewish patriots.
Okay.
And I'm tail end of that. As you know, Tommy, I was involved with Simon Wiesenthal, Pursuit of Nazi War Criminals.
Yep.
And today, I'm the godfather. I'm godfathering an organization called Jew-United Empowered We Stand, or just simply the initials Jews, JEWS. It's a proactive movement, an organization which is proactive and prepared to physically confront the rising tide of anti-Semitism throughout the United States. It's a plane that's just ready to take off. We were just down at Rutgers on Thursday for that demonstration and so forth. I'm not going to even, and I mentioned this before we went on air, I'm not even going to try to be modest, but where it concerns this particular problem today, as far as Israel is concerned, I'm very, very knowledgeable of Jewish history, very, very knowledgeable of Zionist history, and maybe because of my long history living outside the law, operating gambling devices, knowing every mob boss in its time, going all the way back to my father's time and so forth. Having studied, observed, watched, and so forth, there's lessons that are applicable in today's current situation.
All right. So I don't mean to cut you off. It's just that no, you're the expert. People know if I have somebody on, generally I vet them, and obviously you've been a friend of the show, and there's nobody that I listen to on this subject than you. But I want to kind of unpack in a short, I know it's almost impossible, but in a short minute, the crust of what brought us here, right? So whether it be initially, as I understand, Jewish land. In 650, Arabs started inhabiting. Jewish at one point got expelled, came back, and then kind of let's go to more modern times.
So since the time of the destruction of the Second Temple, 70 AD, all right, there's been, even though we were expelled, taken into slavery and so forth, and not necessarily by your particular ancestors, but by the Romans.
They had a hand in it.
There you go. I'm sure. Okay. But so we lived but we still maintained, always there was Jewish presence as far as the Holy Land is concerned. It's from the biblical Torah point of view, we destroyed 7 nations. Joshua received was anointed prime minister of the Jewish nation after Moses. he was ordered to annihilate the 7 nations that operated the land of Canaan, which was the
Correct.
promised land.
Yeah.
So going forward 2,000 years from the time of the Roman Empire, because the actual we're alleged to be 3,335 years from the time of Moses going forward. Okay. Let's
I want to bring it more modern, only because
okay.
We're gonna fit in like
okay. So
three, hold on real quick. I'm giving you like the lay person's point of view, and you kind of hit
go ahead,
the right or wrong button.
Go ahead.
Only because I want to unpack this like in a certain way. When I want to get your expertise.
Guide me the way you want. I'll give you the answers.
So finally the World War I obviously happens. World War II,
1917.
Correct.
After World War I, the British government. In the midst of World War I, 1917, the Balfour was the Lord Balfour was the foreign minister of the British government.
And they want to get rid of the Ottoman.
No. He made a promise.
Correct.
Her Majesty's government looks upon with favor the establishment of a Jewish homeland.
Correct.
In the land of Palestine.
But hold on, they enlisted the Jews. But as I understand, they also enlisted the Arabs and made certain promises.
So they said, no, yes, in the land of Palestine, part will be given to Israel, to the Jews, part will be given to the Arabs.
Correct.
Okay.
And it was a 55-45% split. And the Arabs were like, no deal.
No, you're jumping ahead.
Okay. I mean,
that was the commitment that the British government made to the Jews. In recognition of the great contribution that Chaim Weizmann made for the war effort.
Correct.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So it was established by the League of Nations after the end of World War I that the empires were defeated, being the German, Austrian-Hungarian, and the Ottoman Turkish.
Correct.
Palestine became part of Britain's mandate, was given to Britain.
Correct.
And was called a mandate.
Yeah.
Not a colony, a mandate. So you're mandated to administrate Palestine, and ultimately the question of division of the land
but
and so
they
forth.
Offer 55%?
No, forget those percentages. We were promised up to the land, up to the Jordan River. All right.
Okay.
But when the deal finally was cut, the Jews never got what was promised, but it's okay, we'll take it. Whatever you're giving us, we'll take it.
Okay.
All right.
Isn't it fair to say, though, the Arabs also got the short end of the deal where they were also promised something.
They were given, they got it all. They got Saudi Arabia, they had Transjordan, which became Jordan, the Kingdom of Jordan.
Yeah.
They were well taken care of. The British took care of also Iran. Iran came under the British mandate.
Okay.
So no, everybody was well taken.
But in terms of, I know
everybody was well taken care of.
I know it's a size of New Jersey and it's very small, but within that size of New Jersey, Israel proper, wasn't there also the Arabs thought they would get more land, which is currently the Gaza Strip and West Bank? I'm just asking. I'm just trying to.
That's what if it was up to the Arabs, they want everything.
Yeah.
They don't want the Jews.
All right. So British mandate happens.
Right.
Arabs get their land. Jews get their land.
That's correct.
Let's go.
So then it becomes ratified by the United Nations.
Correct.
And then when David Ben-Gurion on May 14th, 1948, declares the establishment of the State of Israel. So then the next day, you had all those Arab nations invade for the purpose of annihilating the Jews.
That's in 48 or 67?
May 14th, 1948.
Correct. And that was called what?
War of Independence.
War of Independence. Okay.
All right. Because we declared, David Ben-Gurion, who was the prime minister of the State of Israel, made a declaration. All right. And we declared the State of Israel.
Israel essentially defended itself.
And Truman immediately recognized the State of Israel in spite of objection from the State Department, from the Secretary of State, George C. Marshall.
Interesting. Okay. So now let's bring it to 67. What, 68?
Well, we had wars.
There's a lot before, but
the 1948 War of Independence ended up, Israel was able to, I wouldn't say defeat, but they defeated all those Arab armies. You had the Egyptians, you had the Jordanians, the Syrians, the Lebanese, and so forth. the armies invaded, but Israel was able to defeat them. In reality, defeat them. And from 1948, the next war was 1956, in which the United States, France, and England combined in order to open up the Suez Canal because Nasser had closed the
Well, that was
Suez
a conflict.
Canal.
That was not a war.
Suez Canal, that was a war.
Well,
Suez
okay,
Canal.
okay.
They took on it. No, not conflict. Now, then you had the 1967
Okay, the 6-Day War.
Six-Day
versus
War,
Egypt.
in which Israel pulled off a miracle.
Well, because this is really important though, and it's going to set up kind of what happened in '73, and then obviously 50 years later. That's what established the Jewish, and it wasn't called the IDF yet, right? I assume.
Of course, it was called IDF.
Oh, even back then,
1948.
Okay, so forgive me. Okay, so it was called the IDF back then. They pulled off a miracle and established Israeli as a military powerhouse at that point.
Unquestionably, Pentagon still studies to this day the 6-Day War.
Can you give context to that? Because people need to really appreciate how important that was.
Israel knew that it was going to be attacked by Nasser. Abdul Gamal Nasser was the president of Egypt, and he was hell bent on the destruction of Israel and the Jewish people.
They wanted to exterminate the Jews.
Exterminated. Yeah. And what happened was Israel was convinced that it was going to be suicide. They already dug thousands of graves in anticipation.
So if I understand, and you're echoing this, the 6-Day War was a preemptive strike.
It was genius. It
was a preemptive strike.
It was preemptive.
Yeah.
It was, and our knowledge, our intelligence was incredible to the extent.
Which is important later.
Of course.
So please watch this. Please stay.
We had incredible intelligence in Egypt. We had Jewish guys that were actually living part of one past. He was called the Champagne Spy, but the great spy of Syria was Eli Cohen, who almost became the deputy minister of the defense.
That was crazy.
Okay, so he infiltrated. Crazy. He was the one. He's responsible. Actual fact. And Israel today occupies the Golan Heights. They finally picked up on him, and through technology of Russian assistance, able to pick up on the transmissions that he was sending to Israel. Wow. They captured him, and he was hung in the February 1969 in the center of Damascus.
Okay, so we established a good background. Let's go a little bit more modern times in the interest of time.
Right.
So forgive me, I'm going to say this wrong, but the first Intifada happened, I believe, in the 90s, correct?
So the first Intifada takes place, I think in the 80s.
80s, forgive me, yeah.
Okay, that was the misconception that there was going to be a two-state solution. They met in. I don't remember exactly now. Hold on 1 second. It was 1988 was Spain, was Madrid conference. Then afterwards, it was 1990 something.
Was that when the 3 no's happened?
The three?
The 3 no's. No deal, no compromise.
No.
They call them the 3 no's. Basically, what was his name? Abbas walked away from the meeting.
Arafat.
No. This is before him.
There was nobody. There was
no, not before him. After him.
Nobody was before him.
Who was Abbas?
He's Mahmoud Abbas, is the head of PLO today. He came after Arafat.
Okay, so this might have been in 05. There was 3 no's. They were like no compromise, no negotiating, and no Israel.
This was after the 60s. You're talking about.
Way after. Okay, so we're in the 80s, the first Intifada. Keep going. Sorry.
The Intifada came as a result of Arafat. There was what was known as the Oslo Accord. Okay, and that was supposedly the foundation for the two-state solution between Israel and Palestine. Okay, and it was all of this goes to the question of believing that there is a possibility of a two-state solution. The man that you invited today to sit here to give the interview has been saying from day one what wise men have been saying. There's no possibility of a two-state solution. You cannot make peace with somebody that has no intentions of making peace. The proof of that is what we're going to be talking about later.
Okay.
About the
Okay. So
the
this
conflict.
is super important. The second Intifada was 2000 to 2005, and this is, I think, in the grand scheme, very important. Israel was like, "Hey, you know what? You can have the Gaza. We'll leave you guys alone. Do your own thing. West Bank, 3 parts: Jewish, Arab, and mixed. You know what? If you're an Arab in Israel, which is 20% of the population, equal rights. They're in government. They're in the army. And what is that called? The Kismet? Forgive me. Their parliament is what's their parliament?
Knesset.
Knesset. Forget me. I'm not going.
Hey, no,
So
you're
the
doing
Knesset-
good, doing very good.
And essentially, make up. That's what people have to understand. The 9 million people that are in Israel,
10 million.
10 million, but 9 million in Israel itself. It's 10 million. Okay.
No, it's 10
Okay.
million in
So
Israel
2
today.
2 million are Arabs
2.5.
that coexist.
2.5
peacefully
non-Jews.
alongside Israel.
2.5 million non-Jews,
25%.
Druze, Christian, Arabs.
And they have
Muslims.
representation in government.
Pardon?
They have representation in
Of
government.
course
Actually,
they
have their
do.
political party.
Yeah.
They're on this. There's also represented on the Supreme Court, as I understand.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so
Yes, that's right.
So the Israelis were willing and did give the Gaza Strip to not Hamas, the Palestinians at the time. Then what happened?
So it was Arik Sharon,
Yes,
who was the prime minister at the time, in 2005, made a decision to give back Gaza to the Arabs.
correct.
We had a settlement there of 8,500 Jews.
And Israel had any settlers leave, or they left.
They
were
they were forced to leave. They were expelled by the Jews, by Israel, by Arik Sharon, and nobody to this day ever understood or quite could explain what was really going through his mind. Some say that that it was Bush that pressured him, but Arik Sharon was the hero of the 1973 Yom Kippur War.
Yeah.
He saved Israel, and then in 2005, he made the decision to expel Jews from Gaza.
Do you think it might have been a simple too big of a concession and poor negotiation skills? Because you have to the profundity behind this.
So
right? He's like, you know what? Let's give them their land. They have an issue.
He
with
claimed
settlers.
the arguments. I heard all kinds of discussions that we were using too much resources to protect 8,500 Jews living in Gush Katif, which was part of Gaza.
Okay.
All right. Others say that no, he did it because it was for personal purposes. He got even with the Jews because they were prosecuting his son for that scandal with some casino in Greece or something like that.
Okay, hold on. Now, after 2005, the PLO essentially becomes a governing body of Gaza, and it's disputed, but Hamas becomes a governing body in the Gaza Strip. But that was also, talk about a rigged election, that they basically put guns to people's heads, and you had to vote them in. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that statement, or am I off on that?
Well, you mean, no, the whether rigged or whatever the case may be, that's their government. They voted in the Hamas.
So we know this. Hamas doesn't take a leak without Iran's approval. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but when did Iran...
That's accurate.
When did Iran start getting into the picture?
When did Iran when the Ayatollahs took over from the coup, at the time Carter was president?
Yeah.
What was that, 1978? I think 78, was it?
Or 76, I think. 76, I believe.
No. It was late 70s.
Yeah, I think 76.
I think 79. I think it was 1979, wasn't it?
Yeah. I believe 76 to
they got rid of the Shah.
Yeah, correct.
He was deposed. It was Carter was the president.
Yeah. The revolution came, and
the revolution came.
So they hooked up. They hooked up that early with Hamas. Not Hamas.
No, Hamas didn't exist.
The preceding organization. It was a Muslim Brotherhood, I believe, before, right?
So the Muslim Brotherhood. It's a very complicated world. First of all, Iran is Shiite Muslim.
Correct.
The Muslim Brotherhood started in Egypt
as Sunni Arab.
Sunnis.
Right?
Yeah. All right. And however, where it concerns hating Jews, that's the point of unification.
Correct. But even though they're also not bitter enemies, but they also don't super get along.
Only on the question of Jews. That's the unify. That's the glue that holds them together. For example, Egypt, the president, the current president of Egypt is Abdel El Sisi. See, he's the president. He got rid of the brother when Obama was in power.
Yeah, the Muslim Brotherhood was. They were government.
He supported Mohammed Morsi as president of Egypt. Mohammed Morsi was Muslim Brotherhood.
Correct.
All right.
They were actually the governing body at one point. All right. So
he got kicked out as a result of a referendum, and El Sisi, who was a general in the military, he replaced Mohammed Morsi, and Mohammed Morsi, they put him in jail.
Correct. And then now the new government was installed. Okay. So we're gonna go to recent events. Last Wednesday, and again, I'm gonna give my understanding interpretation. You correct it. A group of Hamas terrorists.
Let me just interrupt you for a second. Let's go back to the year 2005.
Okay.
When Ariel Sharon expelled the Jews from Gaza.
Correct.
That has to be emphasized because that is a
miscalculation on his part. Is that the right word?
Well,
putting it lightly.
It was a tragic mistake. Tragic mistake, or it was done on purpose for personal reasons. For whatever reason he did it.
Got
it. God punished him. He lay in a coma for years till he finally died. But
the Netanyahu's been in power for 14 years now.
Right.
I think the longest running prime minister.
Absolutely.
Prime minister. Okay.
Right.
So Wednesday happens, and forgive me, the difference of this attack versus others, they came by land, sea, and air. They ambushed a concert. They got deeper. They respectfully, they caught the Israelis with their pants down, or they surprised them. Is that fair?
I would say it's even worse than that.
Well, I'm trying to,
They outsmarted us. They outsmarted us. What they did was, I think a month and a half or 2 months ago, Islamic Jihad started up. It's another terrorist group.
Correct.
All right. They started,
and they're a little more. They're more in West Bank, correct?
No.
And they're all over, but
they're all over. But they're in Gaza.
In Gaza, okay.
And they started up, but it's very clever what they did. Hamas made a statement: we will not support Islamic Jihad. So Israel understood. Oh my goodness gracious! You see that the Hamas is not getting involved.
Well, they took that as them taking a moderate position, but it was a bluff.
That's exactly what happened. They took it as a moderate position, and that threw them off.
So, okay, when was Mossad created, or allegedly created?
Oh, Mossad was. I'll give you the biblical answer. Yeah. When Moses, when 12 spies. In the time of Moses, but actual
the top of the wall of every Italian household. No,
the actual Mossad was officially created with the state of Israel, but we had intelligence service already prior to it.
But okay, so the reason why I bring that up is Mossad is arguably the premier. I would put him number 3: CIA, FSB, and then Mossad, and probably a close third in terms of intelligence.
I would say I would make them number 1.
Well,
proportionate to the size.
Well, in proportion to size, number 1, 2, and 3. But in terms of even without size, I'd put them up there, even on a not just relative basis.
So if we're going to talk about intelligence, we have to also include the United States and Great Britain. Where were they at this particular point? They didn't pick up on all this as well.
Okay, so
Everybody screwed up.
okay, part of the reason why I wanted to do this, the fuck happened? How did Mossad, even the FSB, which is starting to get better, Russia's starting to get better with Israel and the U.S. How did these premier organizations?
What's the name of the
not pick up on
organization?
it?
What's a British organization?
Oh, MI6.
MI6. Okay,
Too.
they're sharp. Everybody screwed up on this one. They screwed up.
But what do you,
major.
as an expert, what do you think happened?
They misread the information.
Wow.
So I had to misread it. So now, obviously, with that move that they made, thinking that Hamas is taking a moderate position,
Wow.
whatever's coming in, that's all bullshit. Did you see that last statement that Hamas made? All right.
So okay, so tragedy happens, and people know this, but I want to put in context. I believe over 1,000 people unfortunately died that day. Rest in peace. And talk about proportion. There's only 9 million people, 10 million people in Israel. If that was the U.S., so let's just say the
40 times.
Yeah. So now that's 40,000 equivalent of it happening in the U.S. So people talk about after a happening, let's put the guns down. Let's have peace. So that's a big tough pill to swallow when you kind of take that relative stance. Now, there's 2.2 million people in Gaza. Why isn't Egypt and the Israelis are going in as we speak, or about to go in? Why isn't
I just spoke to my nephews at Tank Command.
Okay, so why we'll get to them in a second. Why isn't Egypt allowing regular citizens of Gaza, which I believe half are children, into Egypt as a starting point?
The Palestinians are hated. Egyptians, it's a well-known fact that they hate him.
But as a humanitarian measure, because they know Israel's going to strike, and this is my understanding. I try to report what I know.
Tommy,
yeah.
What's the word oxymoron when you talk about Egypt, about Arabs and humanitarian? That doesn't exist in the world, and this is not a prejudicial remark that I'm being racist or something to that effect. This is a fact that these people they're different. Their mindset, their religion, their thought process, it's just a different process.
All right. In fairness, so I have to at least, so let's just say, sake of argument, we decide to have somebody on to debate or somebody to give another point of view. I was watching PBD's version. The Palestinians would say, we are on our own land, we're prisoners in our own land. They control electricity, they control our water, they control our life being, they treat us like second-class citizens. That would be something that I believe somebody with a Palestinian view would say. Do you disagree with that statement, or do you agree with that?
How many times did Israel offer them an opportunity for two-state solution?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a direct question. Are you okay with a two-state solution?
No.
So
then the reason, ask me the question, why? And the question is very simple. You people they offered it under Carter. I'm sorry, under Clinton. We were able to make a deal with Egypt. All right.
Yeah.
Menachem Begin, which represented right of center politics, because he was the follower of Jabotinsky and the revisionist Zionist movement, extreme right. He was able to make a deal with Anwar Sadat.
Yeah.
All right. Because Sadat needed the deal. All right. The opportunity was given to Arafat first with Shimon Peres and Yitzhak. With Shimon Peres and Yitzhak Rabin. The second time was with, I believe, Ehud Olmert. Then the third time, or the reversal, it could have been Ehud Barak and then Ehud Olmert. But every time an opportunity was offered, in the case of when they said to Arafat, they gave you 96% of what you wanted. What was your problem? And my problem was, if I would have accepted, I would be drinking coffee with Yitzhak Rabin tomorrow morning, meaning he would have been dead.
Dead, yeah. So why do
So
you think,
how
why do you, I want to dig a little deep. Why do you think that is, though? You're a very intelligent man. You have your convictions, but you could also game theory. You would understand the other side. Why do you think that is, in your opinion?
Because they're never going to be satisfied. History has proven time and time again that they're not satisfied unless they destroy, they annihilate, eradicate, get rid of us. There's no way that the Jews can live with them. I would recommend.
You're talking about Hamas.
I'm talking about Palestinians. I'm talking about the Arabs. Look at, we can live with Saudi Arabia. We can live with the Abrahamic agreement. We can live on a basis that Israel never drops its guard. You tell your people, and the people that want to learn about history and want to understand human nature, this applies to every movement on the face of this earth. You go to a YouTube and you type in the words, the doctrine of the iron wall.
Okay.
It was written by Vladimir Zev Jabotinsky exactly 100 years ago. It was the formula for the way Israel would be able to survive. You make a wall, not a physical wall.
Yeah.
A wall, meaning the strongest army on the face of the earth, and you never allow your enemy, because your enemy he's not rabble.
Yeah.
All right. In the words of Jabotinsky, he said, these people are not rabble. They're going to want the land just as much as you want the land. The only time that they'll come to accept you is when the iron wall cannot be penetrated. As long as that wall is reinforced, it doesn't get rusty, you will survive. The minute that you drop your guard, they're going to jump on you. And you're watching what Jabotinsky predicted is going on today. There's no question about it.
Okay, so hold on. So we touched on
let me interrupt you for another second, Tommy. I love you. You're great. You're the best of all the interviewers. You got right. No.
I get excited.
This is great. Yeah. This is great stuff. My thought just slipped.
No worries.
Get me back to where we were.
So it was a prophecy about you need to keep your guard up. Once you lose your guard, you'll lose the wall.
Okay. My reputation is that I was with the Genovese crime family.
Allegedly.
I was not alleged. I was with them. And I was really the founding father of the illegal gambling machine business. I was more a businessman than a gangster, but having intellectual curiosity, you're in a society, you want to know everything that goes on as far as that's concerned.
Correct.
With mobs, what mob everybody wants, I was told from day one, we want our guy to be strong, because when you go to a sit down, all right, only the strong is gonna be able to protect you.
Correct.
All right. This is a world where you only succeed with strength.
Correct.
You can be right. You can be morally right.
Yeah.
All right. But the Holocaust taught the Jews, if it hasn't taught them yet, they better damn well learn it, that you were the most moral people on the face of the earth. You prayed, you went to the synagogue, you committed acts of kindness and so forth. You were right, but you lacked might. And that's why 6 million were walked into the boxcars and taken to the concentration camps. The reason we're now state of Israel is because they're not going to put us in the boxcars anymore.
Well, one, because of might, but number two, by establishing the Israeli
you can be morally right.
You had political power as well.
Right. It needs might. So whether it's political power or military power, you needed both. Okay. You need economic power.
Okay, so I want to unpack this a little bit. So we agree that what happened last Wednesday, at bare minimum, and this is putting it lightly, a failure in intelligence. So last Saturday, forgive me. We
They were look
we
what
agree with
they
that.
look what they picked us. They picked what day did they elect to do it on?
Yeah.
The 50th anniversary of the 1973
Okay, so-
Yom Kippur War,
Correct.
Shabbat,
Correct.
and Simchas Torah.
Which is one of the biggest holidays.
Well, it's a biblical holiday which we drink and get drunk and dance with the Torah and pray to God and so forth. We're exhausted on Saturday morning.
But so hold on. So following the intelligence breakdown, okay, separate from that, which is a separate division, you have the military. You got, you always see the borders, guys walking with machine guns, the towers, drones. So the active military, was also surprised. Like, again, which is separate. So you have your intelligence, which is here, right? But you just have your basic, I guess, defense protocol, and that was breached as well.
Yeah.
Was it because it was a holiday? Was it because the politicians took Hamas to being more moderate? Give me that recipe as to why on the front lines the defense mechanisms just weren't there.
We'll know about it when the investigation comes out, if they're willing to, because Israel is going to have a committee. You're going to have a set of judges that
heads are going to roll.
There's going to be a major.
I know you're not shy. Whose breakdown was it?
Baby's going to take the hit.
You think so?
My nephew is a tank commander. Great kid. This is his 6th war.
Wow.
All right. 48 years of age. Oof. So the kid was telling me, up till now, he's been a baby supporter.
Okay.
No more.
Interesting.
No more. And he tells me that baby didn't go down to the south, to Sderot and to Ashkelon and to all the places, Be'eri and so forth, all the places which were attacked, and nobody went from the government.
Now, I don't know if you're going to agree with this or going to hit me over the head with the microphone, but just to give some context to people, Netanyahu would be considered like their Trump. Is that fair? Right wing.
Without the shit, without the Trump. The way to describe Trump in a matter of a few words, he talks shit. And he did greatness for Israel.
Yeah, well, he made the embassy. He relocated it back to Jerusalem. Correct.
He moved the embassy. He recognized sovereignty for the Golan Heights.
Correct.
His ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
She was incredible.
Yeah.
His Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. His vice president.
Time guy.
His vice president, Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Top of the line.
Yeah. What do you think of Jared Kushner?
Great. The kid did his job. What he did, he actually interceded to modify or mitigate the criticism, or more than criticism, the condemnation of Mohammed bin Salman for killing Khashoggi.
Yeah.
Jared Kushner handled that with kid gloves, won the friendship of Salman, Mohammed bin Salman.
Yeah.
Without the approval of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, there never would have been an Abrahamic agreement.
Correct.
And now Mohammed bin Salman and Jared Kushner are asshole buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just gave him a couple of $1 billion for his
That might have been somewhat of a motivation.
Should have given some of that to me.
Agreed. All right. So now, okay, so you're going to like what I have to say, and then you're not going to like it. So a lot of people believe that, although it's not Biden's fault in any way, that some of Biden's policies had a negative effect on what happened. However, a lot of people are applauding his recent, now granted it's only a speech, but his recent speech about what happened.
They should build statues to him right now. You know why? Because he's a fucking moron. And you know what? You want to stroke the moron. Make him believe that he's the greatest thing since Rice Krispies. All right? Keep telling it, you're great, you're fantastic, we love you, We thank you. But you must play that game. It's a game, but it's an important game. You got to tell this guy he's just absolutely great. Let me give
It's
you
like Manchurian Candidate meets Weekend at Bernie's.
I give you a comparison. At the time that Truman was president, did you ever hear the name Anastasio Somoza?
I have not.
He was the dictator of Nicaragua.
Okay.
Brutal son of a bitch.
Okay.
You know what Truman said about him? He's a bastard, but he's our bastard.
Yeah.
All right. And now you must take Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Joe, we love you. You are the best friend. You got to pull him away at this particular point from all of those protests that you saw yesterday all over the United States of America.
Yeah.
All that rising anti-Semitism. All right. He's impressed with that. I can't, geez, I thought I was doing the right thing. The Jews, I got to be with the Jews. But at the same time, look at all that anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian. Gee, this is Joe. We love you. Forget about those guys. We love you. We appreciate you. Feed his ego.
So okay, so
I hope he's not watching us.
I probably doubt it.
I
but
don't.
so
This is so good. Everybody's going to be watching.
true, true. So okay, so what happened, and now they cut off supplies to Gaza. They bombed Gaza City.
Yeah.
And now Jews may actually enter into
Not
Gaza
yet.
itself.
Not yet. It hasn't happened. I spoke to my nephew. Says nothing. We're not being called up yet.
All right. I'd like to do a little game theory. Okay, right now, different options. Right. So the belief is when Israel goes in, and the 2.2 million people, respectfully, I believe, are trapped. They can't get out.
They're trapped more than ever because they're fleeing. They're going south.
Okay.
Once they cross that river, which name I can't remember, they're now south of the southern part of Gaza.
And the Israelis
and Egypt doesn't want them.
And the Israelis are saying, "Hey, these two areas, was it Rafah? There's two areas that you can go to.
Yeah, Rafah, which is on the border with Egypt.
Correct. So you go to here,
go there,
go here, and go there.
Go there.
But there's two things that I understand, and again, I'm going to ask you this: is one is part of the challenge is Hamas. I'm going to say two parts and then answer if you don't mind. That Hamas actually does hybrid, meaning there's military installations under a hospital, under houses of worship, mixed in with residential.
Yeah.
So when their intelligence, let's say, is correct, and they bomb that institution,
right? There's
obviously Hamas actually is a good PR arm. I'm sorry to say, but they do.
You're absolutely right.
All right, now, however, on top of that, as I understand, Hamas is saying to the Palestinian people, stay at your homes to possibly elevate
sympathy. Sympathy.
All right, so unpack that.
So you can't. You see, if you're sitting and you're seeing people running with little kids in their arms and so forth and so, oh my God. But Israel never showed you the pictures of the kids with the decapitated, the 40 babies.
What happened with that? Because although that was media reports, there were certain outlets that rescinded that, as I understand.
Of course, there's going to be the press or the journals that are paid for. We have to dispute this. This never happened. It's all bullshit and so forth and so forth. Israel could do a much better job in terms of propagandizing.
Okay.
All right.
Well, they just fired the PR minister.
They fired who?
They have their head of PR. They let them go. They let that person go.
Is that today?
It would happen like very recently, yeah. And a lot of people are scratching their heads. And I think Netanyahu, or one of his persons, is kind of handling that now, like front facing, like the press secretary, essentially.
Yeah, okay.
But they got rid of that person at a really critical time. And they're saying that's a bad PR move in itself. Very recently happened, but
that's not my specialty. My specialty is operating slot machines.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. So now you're Iran. So Hamas. See, I try to follow this game theory as well. Hamas.
Tell me if it was up to me right now. If it was up to me right now. What would you do? I would at this particular point, if I was calling all the shots, I had all the power on the face of the earth, I would have the United States invade Iran. And Iran is the source of all problems. If you don't have regime change,
Yeah, but then you get China and Russia to back.
I don't think so.
World War III.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think Russia or China.
At bare minimum, a proxy war. China has a lot of resources.
If the United States right now, if Donald Trump was the president of the United States, there's an excellent possibility. First of all, if Donald Trump was the president of the United States, you and I would be talking about that fucking football game that's on your television.
Well, but also you're saying invade Iran, we just gave him $6 billion.
So it was a stimulant for them to grab hostages. That made each hostage worth $1.2 million. 6 hostages, 5 hostages, $6 billion. Yeah. That broken down was each hostage was 1.2. Pretty good business, right? Pretty good business.
What happened? We don't negotiate with terrorists.
So there's your answer. We do. We give them the money.
It's a slippery slope, my friend.
So yeah, it's where it concerns. Sometimes you got hard decisions to make. You can't vacillate. You got to make those decisions, like what Israel's doing right now. Yes, we got a lot of Jewish boys there. Those American kids.
So you don't think, but you're onto something though. So when inevitably Gaza gets infiltrated by the Israeli army, their boots are on the ground,
right?
Aerial drones, the whole bit,
right?
Will Iran act or not?
Not at all. Not at all.
But Hamas would have never did the operation they did.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example.
Without an okay.
We're in the schoolyard, right? Mm-hmm. Or even the mob life. If I'm an associate and somebody's got my back, and I know the might of the Genovese behind me, I'm going to walk out pretty cocky, right?
Yeah.
And when there's a conflict, I'm going to go to my guy and say, hey, I need help.
Iran recognizes the military power as far as Israel is concerned. And Biden But then why commit a proxy war, guys, is kind of what's happening with Ukraine. American gives a lot of money and resources to Ukraine, and Ukraine is a proxy fighting Russia. So it's a proxy war, a representative war. The same goes here. This is a proxy war as well. So my question is, why have the proxy war if you're Iran, if you're not afraid of an actual war? You get what I'm saying? When you're obsessed with an ideological obsession with destroying Jews, and that's more important than anything on the face of the earth.
The best to your ability.
Your rationale, but they're not rationale.
Okay.
Terrorism is not based on rationale.
It's going to be like a dumb question, but the best.
You're asking great questions.
No, but the best to your ability. Why do people hate the Jews? Like I maybe I'm too open-minded. Maybe I've always had good experiences. Maybe I'm not prejudiced. Maybe whatever that is. But I can't really wrap my head around the hatred.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
There is no answer. Everybody, it's very funny that everybody wants to be like us and at the same time hate us. Who doesn't want to be like a Jew? Smart, intelligent, successful, professional. Yeah. All right. Peace. Look what Israel has done in 75 years. Yeah. An amazing story. Have you been there? Have you ever been?
I haven't been to Israel, but I do. It's on my bucket list.
Okay, so if you go there, it's mind-boggling, especially Tel Aviv.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to Jerusalem. I would love to see the Great Wall too.
Well, I'm just saying what they've accomplished in terms of technology, science, medicine, weaponry, arms, military, economics. Second country in high tech.
Correct.
In the United States, in Israel, a population of 10 million people, 7.5 million Jews.
So in your opinion, and I know, and I forget the name of it, but the Americans just sent the largest, I guess, essentially
boat,
the
ship.
ship, if you will,
Yeah.
out there, like to the point that like the wake of the boat is like 3 kilometers
Yeah,
long.
right.
It's that big.
Right.
So is America doing enough? And if so, explain why. If they're not doing enough, what should America be doing?
I just gave you the answer. They should be invading Iran at this particular.
No, but in terms of the conflict in Israel proper.
Invade Iran. Well, Israel can take because Israel can take care of Hamas. And if the United States was, well, it's a very good question, and I'm going to give you a very good answer because I know what I'm talking about in this particular case. Iran, once you take out Iran, you've neutralized Hezbollah.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to. So now I think Iran is not going to get involved, but then they're going to activate Hezbollah on the north as well.
That's why.
But a simple reason is to thin out.
Yes, that's why the United States needs to invade Iran once and for all and get rid of that problem. Okay. And at the same time, see, let me change a little bit of direction of this discussion.
Yeah, please.
We made a fantastic mistake and a monstrous mistake. All right.
How so?
Ukraine war.
Okay.
We should never have allowed that war to take place. Instead of making Putin an enemy, we should have gone there and said, Vladimir, what's your fucking problem, buddy? Take it, slow down, pal. What's your problem? You're gonna, and this kid Zelensky, he was egotistically, he's an egotist. What the hell is this kid looking to him to prove? And what are we doing supporting him? You can't win a war if you play in the minor leagues, and this guy's in the major leagues, and he's got 6,500 nuclear weapons, and you got nothing but your fucking pea shooter between your legs. You're going to defeat this guy?
Well, $100 billion from the U.S. doesn't hurt.
$100 billion goes in my pocket. That's where certainly it doesn't hurt. It goes to my homes that I got in Cyprus, to the ones that I got in France, and I want this here, and so forth and so forth. Where's Ukraine going with this war? Where was this kid going? And where was the United States? Where was the United Nations? Where was the European? Where was NATO?
I heard something really interesting.
How am I doing so far?
Doing well. I heard something really interesting. When Hamas puts down their weapons, there'll be peace. When Israel put down their weapons, they will be extinct.
Right.
You hear that?
Yeah, of course.
You can use that argument for Ukraine.
Not really.
How so?
Not really. Nobody negotiated with Putin. That and you know something. So the problem is between Putin, between Russia, and between Ukraine. What's that our problem? Why isn't NATO? You got a problem with this? Okay, you go take care of it, you jerk offs. Go.
NATO's not going to get involved.
So they're not going to get involved.
Well, not directly.
Not
directly.
Who's going to get involved then? If nobody's going to get involved, so why should we get involved? Why should we have made Putin an enemy? He wasn't an enemy when Trump was our president.
Correct. Neither was North Korea.
And neither was North Korea, neither was China. You got to do business with your enemy. That's why with organized crime, you got 5 bosses that sit down and say, listen, the last thing we need on the face of the earth is a pissing match, right? Okay, so how do we resolve our issues? Every Thursday, the guys meet downtown. What's your issue? What's your... About 1990, I get a phone call. Get down to Bloomfield Avenue, all right? You're going somewhere. Forget about where you're going to. You're with us for the day. 3 cars, 4 cars, change this. But we wind up on 2nd Avenue, 19th Street, Sicilian restaurant. I walk in. Everybody in the restaurant was a gangster. The bodyguards with the bar, from the Genovese, and from the Gambino family.
Oh.
Right? Who was the moderator? Sammy. Okay.
Interesting.
Myron, you sit with your guys over here at the table, all the Genovese guys here, Gambino guys here, another table here, another table there, and so forth. And the back room of the bosses. When it came time, I'm saying to myself, what am I doing here? Food's good. I like Italian food. Pasta fasul, please, white. Remember I'm kosher. Please don't make sure that you don't put any pancetta in my pasta fasul. All right. Now I get called to the back. All right. Louis Red, Jimmy Brown.
Yeah.
All right.
Jim Brown, yeah.
How are we going to resolve the question of the issue of slot machines? Next one, concrete. Next one, unions. Next one, this one. Next, the port. Garbage. Everything was resolved. All right. At a major sit down between two families.
Like that.
If guys that didn't even graduate 6th grade, all right, and got teeth missing and got bended noses and bended ears and so forth, they have the capacity to sit down and to negotiate all their differences and conflicts and so forth.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me all these geniuses that went to the best and got diplomas from one end of the, they can't sit down and negotiate? They couldn't negotiate.
Yeah, I have a comment here that I'm just, like I said, the risk you run when doing a live, you might get people agree with you, might get people disagree with you. So this person says, "Glory to Palestine. Palestine has lived under 80 years of terror, murder, land confiscations, and settlers burning children." I just would like to get your
Good
on that.
Good. All right.
No comment.
I just did a whole show.
Yeah.
Explained.
No, I got it.
Explained that you cannot make peace with people that don't want to make peace, that want to eradicate, annihilate you. All right.
So what's the next step for Israel?
For example,
Yeah.
let me tell you what happened in May of 2021.
Okay.
So in May of 2021 was the previous conflict with Hamas. All right.
Correct.
We have cities in Israel, 6 or 7 cities in Israel of mixed populations. Haifa,
Yeah.
Accra, Ramle, Lod, Jaffa, Jerusalem. All right. I can't think of it. Jericho. No, not Jericho. But we have these cities of mixed populations. You know what happened in the cities of mixed populations? You're my neighbor. You're an Arab. I'm a Jew. Okay. We're the best of friends for years. When that war started with Hamas in Gaza, all of a sudden, the guy that I thought was the nicest guy on the face of the earth, he's attacking me and my family with knives. What happened was at that time, the police of Israel were told to stand down, not to respond.
Okay.
So in order to protect Jews, there was the formation of vigilante groups that went out and to fight with the Arabs.
Yeah.
After that, all my friends that lived in cities of mixed populations, I'll never trust an Arab again. And another thing, Rabbi Meir Kahane. You ever hear that name?
No.
Huh?
I haven't.
So Rabbi Meir Kahane was vilified for being the Jew that said, expel them. They cannot live here. And all the years, everybody said, he's a demagogue. He was this. He was barred from the parliament, from the Knesset, and so forth and so forth. He's a racist and so forth. You know what people say today? Rabbi Meir Kahane was right.
Interesting.
Okay. Particularly after 2021, it was horrible that in the city of mixed populations, our Arab neighbors that we loved, all of a sudden they're turning on us and coming at us with knives.
But given your legacy, I don't want to cut you off, but given your legacy, and this is an easy answer, but I know the answer to this, but I want to see what you say. The guy writes Ray Katina, but who was most powerful, Bobby Manna, Jerry Katina, or Bobby Kabir? That's a layup, but
Jerry Katina was the greatest of them all. Of them all, not these fellas. These Bobby Manna was a very nice man.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure to meet, and I know Bobby Kabir as well.
Oh,
but
wow.
But in terms of you know what Jerry Katina could have been, hands down, President of the United States of America.
Yeah, you were saying that.
What a monumental genius in terms of knowing, had a tremendous sense of self-discipline, knew how to administrate men, knew how to pick the right men, where to use them, and so forth. It was genius.
All right, so we'll be wrapping up. Kind of, I know you're a prophetic guy, so why don't you give us what should we expect over the next 90 days?
World War III.
Hey,
World War III. We're at the verge. We're on the verge of World War III. If the United States at this particular point, the only thing that I would strongly recommend to our government, they picked up the phone and called me and said, "What do we do? Go into Iran, get rid of them. They are the source of all. They're the source of all your problems." All right, and at that point, Russia and China, like everything else on the face of the earth, everybody yields to power.
true. So I probably should be a little bit better on this. Where did Russia land publicly? Where did China land public? Like, if you could go some of the powerhouses, and where do they land on what happened? Were they pro-Israel? Were they pro?
So again, with the Ukrainian war, prior to the Ukrainian war, Vladimir Putin was a hero to the Jews. His rabbi, his chief rabbi of Russia, was Rabbi Beryl Lazar. He was the apologist for Putin for the West to explain. All right. And on the other hand, Putin had a very good relationship with Bibi.
Yeah.
Very good relationship. Vladimir Putin scored great with the Jews. Right? So anytime, for example, that Bibi needed to fire on transport of arms and weapons coming from Iran to Hezbollah, he would make a phone call to Vladimir Putin. I mean, I'm simplifying it.
Yeah.
Say to him, just to let you know what I'm going to be doing. It's okay. Thank you for calling me. That's respectful. I appreciate it. Do what you got to do. All right. The Ukrainian war put pressure on Israel from the United States, from Europe, and from the United
I always
Nations.
felt that Ukraine might have been a little bit more Israeli friendly. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that.
For the Jews to be friendly to Ukraine?
I believe Ukraine was friendlier because they had a larger Jewish population proportion than Russia.
No. No, Russia has far greater, but that's not an issue. The issue was that Ukraine inveigled Israel in getting involved in the Ukrainian war, which in anything that Israel did vis-a-vis Ukraine pissed off Vladimir Putin.
Give me the 3-year-old answer. Did Putin come out and stand with Russia, with Israel after it happened, or did he kind of hedge a little bit?
Right now?
Yeah. Are you satisfied with Putin's public response?
See, I'm a little bit wiser than a lot of people because I'm
I know
a
it's a
little bit
nuanced
older.
answer.
I'm a little bit wiser, so
Yeah.
I understand. For example, let me answer by telling you, Trump recently has been condemned for saying things about Jews. All right, that they're not grateful and so forth and so forth.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah, for all that they did. He's right.
Oh.
Hello, he's right. He's got every right to be pissed off at us. All right, for all that he's done for the state of Israel.
Okay, so
let me finish. For all that he's done for the state of Israel, the Jews have failed to say even the bare minimum thank you. On the contrary, 80% of the Jews of the United States of America have viciously condemned Trump. All right,
because they're Democratic.
Because I don't give a
Democrats.
But thank the man for what he did for Israel. All right. And sure, in Israel, he was greatly appreciated. So if people said to me, "Oh, it's a terrible thing that Donald Trump said," terrible. His French, the guys that really take the credit for Trump to be so pro-Israel, not the Jews of America, the conservative Christians, the evangelicals, Kufi, Christians United for Israel. Yeah. All right. So when you ask me about Putin, the remarks that he made, I don't care when a guy makes public remarks
Yeah.
because that's being a politician. You say things. You have to say things. You have to say things that you may not even believe in.
True.
All right, and it's gonna. You're putting yourself out there to say things you have absolutely no belief in yourself.
Okay.
But you got to say them.
Got it. All right. I'm not gonna swallow this pill, but so you predict World War III out of this?
It's in that direction. It's definitely in that
Do you
direction.
have a more moderate answer before we wrap up?
I'm
not gonna sell all my stocks.
you. If you look at right now, you got a war, a major war in the Middle East. You got a major war in Ukraine, and God only knows where it's going to lead to. Both wars could have easily have been avoided,
Correct.
stopped, aborted, and so now you've got two major. What happens if China decides to go into Taiwan? All right.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. Now you're at this particular point. People look for weaknesses in their opposition. Listen, there's rumor to the effect that arms and weapons that were left behind in Afghanistan are being used by Hamas against Israel.
Wow, that'd be
All
some
right.
shit.
Now it's rumor. There's Myron Sugarman sitting in your beautiful house and your warm reception and great loyalty and friendship and so forth. Can I tell you for sure that Afghanistan weaponry is being used and so forth and so? But we do know that when the exodus of Afghanistan took place, immediately Putin saw that as a sign of weakness of the Biden government and jumped in immediately and invaded Ukraine.
Interesting. Ooh, correlating the two. I have mutually exclusive, but I can see the dots connecting on that. Myron, this is always your friendship, your camaraderie, your honesty.
Thank you very much, Tommy. You blew me away today with your unbelievable questions. Insightful, deep, profound. Yeah. Your knowledge, amazing. These kids that are going to be watching this is better than going to Harvard University. To Harvard University, you go there, you'll wind up being a fucking socialist. You'll be an anti-Semite. You'll be anti-Israel. They'll brainwash you.
What about Harvard? 31 groups coming out against Israel.
Unfortunately, education today is not education. All right. What they're doing is they're brainwashing you. All right. Did it bother these Harvard graduates that there were 40 babies that were slaughtered and then decapitated? Did it bother them that all those girls at the party, they got raped and slaughtered and destroyed and so forth? And they're coming out now in support of a terrorist movement. I mean, can you believe how screwed up we are in America?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like I said, all I can do is try to have good people on like yourself.
The guy that asked the question about the 80 years and so forth, he just doesn't have any knowledge. He's been brainwashed to ask that question. Yeah. All right. He doesn't know that there were how many efforts that were made for a two-state solution. Israel would love to have a two-state solution. How come they're able to make a deal of a coexistence, at least coexistence with Egypt, with Jordan, and now with Morocco, Sudan, Bahrain, UAE, and if it wasn't for this stupid, unnecessary screw up, we would be talking with Saudi Arabia about peace. Now, for example, the Crown Prince made a statement, and he says, right now, where's discussion of a peace talk with Israel is off the table. It's off the table.
Wow.
I'm putting it on hold. What else is he supposed to say?
Yeah.
People come to me and say, "Oh,
what about the trade deal with
wait,
UAE?
I'm not finished. All right, Saudi Arabia, they'll say, "Oh, that's a terrible thing. We thought he was our friend." He's got to say that. He's got to make a gesture of solidarity with Arabs right now, because Saudi Arabia is the protector of Islamic.
Do you think UAE is going to abandon their trade deal with Israel, or do you think they'll keep it?
It depends at this particular point on Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia says, okay, you can continue doing it, or if it at this particular point there's a need for them to show solidarity with the Palestinians,
All right.
it screws things up.
The same gentleman had a comment earlier, characterized. God, look at his blood pressure up. Israel is an apartheid state. How would you reconcile that, or how would you answer that?
I think that again, it's fellas asking questions is a fucking moron. But I want to say it in a nice way. All right, you don't know shit from Shinola. First of all, what color are the Ethiopian Jews? What color are the Yemenite Jews? We got African Jews. Well, apartheid. I understand what you mean by apartheid. We got 2.5 million Arabs living
They
there.
live side by side, yeah.
Side by side. Kind of a fucking moron.
Well, we'll end it at that. Listen, thank you everybody checking it out. Myron Sugarman, the last Jewish gangster, always happy. Now, in fairness, if you have an opposing view, you're welcome to drop it.
I love it. So let me educate them.
Yeah.
Let me educate them. By the way, I'm on Facebook. I got an organization called United Empowered We Stand. And we're also at the same time.
Email me that link, and I'll put that in the community, and I'll put it in the description below. As Myron, as always.
Tommy, it was terrific. You were the best.
Thank you, everybody.
This should go to everybody.